The elevator doors opened with a soft ding. Maria Johnson adjusted her simple beige jacket, holding her worn resume tightly in her hand. Her 10-year-old daughter, Amara, walked beside her, quiet, observant, her eyes scanning the marble floor that reflected the golden logo of Liang International Holdings. Inside the glass-walled conference room, everything gleamed: polished floors, silk suits, and judgmental eyes. Foreign applicants whispered, glancing at Maria's skin tone and modest clothes. At the far end sat Mr. Liang, the billionaire CEO. Sharp suit, sharper tongue. He tapped a pen on the table and smiled thinly. "Next," he said. His tone wasn't a request, it was a command. Maria took a deep breath. "Good morning, sir." He looked her up and down, unimpressed. "You're not from around here, are you?" The room chuckled. Amara looked at her mother, her small hand tightening around Maria's sleeve. Maria forced a polite smile. "No, sir. But I believe language can make anywhere feel like home." Mr. Liang smirked. "Let's see if that's true." He slides a thick Mandarin contract across the table. "Translate this." Maria sat upright, eyes darting between the columns of Mandarin text. She knew some of it. She'd studied for months. But the legal terms were intricate, almost poetic in tone. The other candidates exchanged glances, stifling laughter. Mr. Liang leaned back, watching her struggle. "Harder than you expected?" Maria didn't answer. She was determined to finish. "Tell you what," he said, amusement curling his lips. "If your daughter can translate this document—" He paused for effect, letting the laughter build. "I'll give your mother my job." The room erupted. Laughter bounced off the marble walls. Maria froze, humiliated but silent. But Amara stood up slowly, setting her sketchbook aside. Her small voice broke through the noise. "Excuse me, sir," she said softly. "May I try?" The room went silent. Even Mr. Liang's smirk faltered. Mr. Liang's eyes narrowed. "You?" Amara nodded. She climbed onto the empty chair beside her mother and pulled the contract closer. For a moment, no one spoke. Only the quiet hum of the air conditioner filled the room. Then, in clear, confident Mandarin, Amara began to read. "According to Article 5, all partnerships shall maintain mutual respect and integrity in business relations." Her pronunciation was flawless. Her tone, precise, professional, and natural. Gasps rippled across the table. The assistant's pen slipped from her hand. Mr. Liang blinked. "You speak Mandarin?" Amara looked up at him. "Yes, sir. And understand it too." Mr. Liang leans forward, astonished. "Who taught you that?" Maria couldn't move. Her daughter's calm voice filled the room like music. Amara continued reading, flipping through pages with ease. She didn't just translate, she explained context, tone, and cultural idioms. When she finished, she looked at her mother. "Did I do okay?" Maria's eyes glistened. "You did more than okay, sweetheart." Mr. Liang's pride was wounded. His eyes darted toward his assistants, then back to Amara. "This isn't possible," he muttered. "No one learns like that." Amara tilted her head. "Maybe not everyone listens the same way." The room stayed frozen. Embarrassed faces, trembling silence. Mr. Liang forces a smile. "Fine, if you're so fluent. Let's really test you." He stood up abruptly, grabbing a remote. The screen behind him flickered to life, filled with a complex document full of traditional Chinese idioms and proverbs. "These," he said, "are phrases that even natives misunderstand." Amara squinted at the text, her lips moving slightly as she read. Then she began. "A man who mocks others' roots forgets his own soil," she translated softly. Mr. Liang froze. It was an old proverb his father used to say, something he'd never shared publicly. "How do you know that saying?" he asked quietly. Amara looked up, eyes full of innocence. "My mom used to work with people from your country. They taught me that every word has a story." No one dared speak. The man who had laughed now stood speechless before a child. Cameras from a nearby intern's phone quietly recorded the scene. And the video was about to change everything. The internet exploded overnight. The clip of a little black girl speaking flawless Mandarin in front of a shocked billionaire hit 10 million views in hours. Headlines read, "When Mockery Met Genius." The girl who spoke truth in every tongue. But behind the viral storm, Maria sat silently at their small kitchen table, staring at her phone. "Mom," Amara said softly, "did I do something wrong?" Maria smiled weakly. "No, baby. You did everything right. It's the world that still has learning to do." The scene faded into memory, years ago in a dusty village in Kenya. Maria worked for a humanitarian NGO that partnered with Chinese engineers. Little Amara had followed her everywhere, mimicking the volunteers, repeating their phrases, laughing when they laughed. It wasn't just language she absorbed, it was spirit. Back in the present, a sleek black car parked outside their small apartment. The tinted window rolled down. Mr. Liang was inside. Maria froze at the door when she saw him. "Mr. Liang?" He stepped out, impeccably dressed, holding a bouquet of lilies. His voice was softer than before. "I came to talk," he said. Privately, he glanced down at Amara, "and maybe to understand how she does what even my translators can't." Maria invited him in, hesitantly. Their home was small, but filled with warmth. Children's books, old Chinese novels, a few framed photos from Africa. He looked around quietly. "You lived in Nairobi?" "Yes," Maria said. "I translated for Chinese doctors during a medical outreach." Amara listened more than she spoke. "Until one day," she corrected them. Mr. Liang chuckled softly, surprised. "She corrected native speakers?" Maria smiled. "She didn't just learn words, she learned people." Mr. Liang's eyes narrowed. "Then maybe she can learn truth, too." Back at the company, news of the viral video spread like wildfire. Employees whispered in corridors. Investors called in panic. And in the boardroom, Mr. Liang's senior executive, Ms. Wei, tossed a newspaper on the table. "Public image crisis," she said coldly. "You embarrassed yourself and the company." Mr. Liang folded his arms. "So what do you suggest?" "Control the narrative," Ms. Wei said. "Invite the mother and child back. Make it look like a publicity partnership." Mr. Liang frowned. "You think I'll parade them for sympathy?" "You already became the villain," she replied. "Better to look like you learned something." His pride burned, but his logic surrendered. "Fine," he said. "Set the meeting." But Ms. Wei wasn't smiling. Behind her polite nod was a hidden plan, one that could destroy them all. 2 days later, Maria received a golden envelope. Invitation: Liang International Cultural Appreciation Dinner. It looked fancy, almost royal. The note inside read, "You and your daughter are our guests of honor." Maria hesitated. "He wants to fix his reputation," she murmured. But Amara smiled. "Maybe he wants to learn, Mom," Maria sighed. "Maybe both." She didn't notice the small print at the bottom. "Recording permitted with media approval." That line wasn't an accident. Cameras were already being prepared. At the Grand Hotel ballroom, chandeliers glittered like frozen rain. Business elites filled the tables, sipping wine, waiting for the little prodigy to arrive. As Maria and Amara entered, whispers rippled through the crowd. "That's her! The girl who embarrassed the CEO. She's adorable." But it had to be staged. Maria straightened her shoulders, refusing to let fear show. Amara, however, looked calm, almost serene. Mr. Liang approached them with a forced smile. "Welcome, Ms. Johnson, Amara." His tone was polite, but his eyes betrayed conflict, between shame and pride. On stage behind him, Ms. Wei whispered to the cameraman, "Get ready for the moment she fails." Midway through the event, Mr. Liang lifted his glass. "Tonight," he announced, "we celebrate the bridge between cultures and the courage to learn." Polite applause filled the hall. He turned to Amara. "Would our young guest honor us with another translation?" Amara nodded politely. He handed her a new document, one written entirely in an obscure regional dialect used only in rural China. The crowd leaned in, waiting for the child's downfall. Even Maria's face paled. She recognized none of the characters. But Amara simply studied the paper, her brow furrowed in quiet concentration. Then she spoke. "Sir, this dialect is from Sichuan province, but it's written in a style from the 1950s. Did you want me to translate the literal meaning or the hidden one?" Mr. Liang's smirk vanished. "You recognize that?" Amara nodded. Then calmly she began translating. "A wise man knows the world through others' eyes, but a fool sees only through his own reflection." The hall fell silent. Even Ms. Wei's hand trembled slightly as she stopped the recording. This wasn't going according to plan. Maria looked at Mr. Liang. "She didn't embarrass you, sir. She reminded you what humility sounds like." Cameras kept rolling, and one journalist whispered, "This story just got better." Within hours, new videos flooded social media. The girl outsmarts the billionaire again. A lesson in respect from a child. The footage went international. People translated Amara's quote into dozens of languages. Meanwhile, in the boardroom, Ms. Wei slammed her laptop shut. "This is out of control," she hissed. "She's not just a story. She's a movement." Mr. Liang stared at the video replaying on his screen. Amara's calm voice, her unshaken grace. He whispered, almost to himself, "She's not proving me wrong. She's proving me small." Ms. Wei leaned closer. "Then maybe it's time she disappeared from the spotlight." A week later, Maria received a threatening email. "Stay out of the media. For your own good, no signature, no name. Just fear." She deleted it, but more came. Her apartment was suddenly under quiet surveillance. Strange cars parked outside, phones clicking when she answered. Amara noticed too. "Mom, someone's watching us." Maria hugged her tightly. "We'll be okay," but her voice trembled. That night, the same black SUV from before drove past their building. Only this time, Mr. Liang wasn't inside. Part 15. The Revelation Mister. Liang arrived at his office to find chaos. Documents missing. Reports leaked. Someone was trying to ruin him. Then, on his desk, a note. "You built your empire on arrogance. She's tearing it down with honesty." It was signed, Wei. His hands shook. "She set me up," he muttered. And then it hit him. Maria and Amara might be in danger because of him. He grabbed his coat, running for the elevator. For the first time, the arrogant billionaire looked afraid. As the elevator doors closed, a new headline flashed on his phone. "Breaking the girl who humbled a CEO, now missing." The city lights blurred through the rain. Police cars idled outside an old apartment building. Maria's door left slightly open, papers scattered inside. "Empty," the officer muttered. Mother and child. Gone. When Mr. Liang arrived, drenched and breathless, he pushed past the guards. "Where are they?" he demanded. A detective looked up. "We're still checking CCTV, but there's something you should see." On a cracked phone left behind, a video played, Amara's voice trembling. "If you're watching this, something bad happened. Mom said to stay brave. Don't be scared of the truth." Mr. Liang's jaw clenched. The girl he once mocked was now the one teaching him courage. The detective turned to him. "Sir, the footage shows a company car near their street." Hours later, Mr. Liang stormed into his office, where Ms. Wei waited, calm and smiling. "I warned you she was dangerous," she said coldly. "Now she's gone, and so is our problem." Mr. Liang slammed his fist on the desk. "You did this?" Ms. Wei didn't flinch. "You built your empire on image, not integrity." "I'm just protecting it." He stared at her, realization dawning. "You wanted the scandal. To destroy me," Ms. Wei smirked. "And it worked. The world's laughing at you." But Mr. Liang didn't care about headlines anymore. He grabbed his keys and said, "Then let them laugh. I'll find her." Ms. Wei called someone as he left. "He's going after them. Make sure he doesn't come back." Mr. Liang drove through the city all night, retracing every street Maria had mentioned. Each sign, each corner whispered her name in guilt. He stopped by a small church, the one she'd once pointed out from a distance. The door was locked, the inside dark. He sank to his knees in the rain, his suit soaked. For the first time in years, he prayed. Not for success, not for reputation, for forgiveness. A soft voice broke the silence. You're not the man in those headlines, are you? He looked up. An elderly pastor stood there holding a candle. Mr. Liang whispered, I mocked a woman for her skin and a child for her brilliance. I don't deserve forgiveness? The pastor smiled gently. Then start deserving it. Find them. The pastor handed him a piece of paper with an address written in Chinese and a single word below. Truth. The address led him to a small language center on the city's outskirts. The lights dim, the sign flickering. Project Respect, opening soon. Inside, Maria sat beside Amara, comforting her. When she saw Mr. Liang enter, she stiffened. You shouldn't be here. I came to make things right, he said quietly. I know what Ms. Wei did. Maria's expression softened slightly but stayed guarded. What do you want, Mr. Liang? He lowered his head. Not forgiveness, just a chance to change. Amara stepped forward, holding her sketchbook, the same one she had during the interview. She turned it toward him. On the page was a drawing, him standing beside her and her mother with a single word written underneath. Together. Tears welled in his eyes. I don't deserve that, he said. Amara smiled gently. Then earn it. Outside, a car engine started. Ms. Wei's men had found them. The lights flickered as the door burst open. 2 men in black suits entered. Mr. Liang, one of them said. Ms. Wei sends her regards. Maria stepped in front of Amara instinctively. But before anyone could react, Mr. Liang stepped between them. Leave them, he said firmly. This is my mess. The men hesitated, not used to defiance from their boss. Mr. Liang's voice rose, echoing through the room. If power makes me blind, then I'll walk in darkness. But I won't let you touch them. Police sirens wailed outside. The detective from before had tracked the signal. The men fled, leaving the room in stunned silence. Mr. Liang turned to Maria and Amara. You saved me once, with truth. Let me return it with action. Amara's eyes filled with tears. You already did. As dawn broke through the window, sunlight bathed the word respect painted across the wall. The man who once laughed at a little girl now stood beside her, reborn in humility. Weeks later, cameras flashed in every direction. Reporters crowded a grand hall decorated not with luxury, but with children's drawings and flags from different nations. At the podium stood Maria Johnson, calm and radiant beside Mr. Liang, humbled yet resolute. Behind them, a new banner read, Project Respect, Bridging Hearts through language Maria spoke first. We were divided by misunderstanding. We're here to make sure the next generation never will be. Applause thundered. Then she gestured to Amara, who stepped forward, clutching a microphone half her size. If you can learn a language, she said in perfect Mandarin, you can learn kindness, too. The crowd stood in ovation. Outside, hidden among the reporters, Ms. Wei watched silently, her expression unreadable. A week later, a journalist cornered Amara after an interview. Everyone's calling you the voice of humanity. But tell me, how did you stay calm when Mr. Liang mocked your mother? The room fell quiet. Amara smiled gently. Because my mom taught me that anger is a language no one ever understands. I just spoke the one he couldn't ignore, respect. Her answer spread across the internet like wildfire. The same platforms that once laughed at her now celebrated her wisdom. That night, Mr. Liang watched the clip alone in his office, tears glimmering in his eyes. He whispered, She saved me again. A soft knock at his door. A detective stepped in. Sir, Ms. Wei wants to confess. In a quiet interrogation room, Ms. Wei sat with her hands folded. Her confidence was gone, replaced by exhaustion. I leaked the files. I wanted your empire to crumble, she admitted. Mr. Liang didn't respond with anger. He simply said, You succeeded. But it's not too late to rebuild what matters, she frowned. Reputation? He shook his head. Humanity. He signed the papers, dropping charges. Everyone deserves a second language and a second chance. As he left, she whispered. Why? He smiled faintly. Because a child taught me forgiveness sounds better than revenge. Outside the station, reporters waited, unaware that a storm of emotion was about to sweep the world again. A global summit invited them to speak. Educators, leaders, and children gathered from every continent. Maria stood on stage first. We teach children to speak languages, but we must also teach them to listen, to pain, to difference, to truth. Then Mr. Liang stepped forward. I once mocked a woman for not fitting my world. She and her daughter taught me the world doesn't belong to one language or one color. He turned toward them and bowed deeply, a gesture of humility broadcast to millions. The hall erupted in applause, some wiping tears. As the lights dimmed, Amara approached the microphone for the final word. Sunlight streamed through the glass dome above the stage. Amara looked out at thousands of faces, different shades, different languages, yet silent in awe. She took a deep breath. People once laughed when I spoke, but I learned something. No language is foreign, only hearts that refuse to listen. The audience rose, clapping, crying, shouting her name. Maria hugged her tightly. Mr. Liang stood beside them, humbled, the laughter that once belittled now replaced by admiration. As the music swelled, the screen behind them faded to the Shades of Humanity logo, followed by the final line, "Because understanding is the truest form of power." The crowd roared, and the story that began with mockery ended with a movement. Fade to black.